Welcome, everybody. Season kicks off or tips off tomorrow, and excited about that. It's been a long summer and fall leading into the first game. I feel like I'm already having to deal with mid-season issues as far as keeping everybody focused, moving in the right direction, but that's part of coaching. So I've got a really good group. I've got a talented group. They put a lot of work into it leading up into the first game, and now the journey begins. And it's always a journey. You know, I'd like to say, well, here's what we're going to be at the start. You know, until you go play, then you really don't know what you are. So the journey begins tomorrow. I know eventually we're going to have a good team. Whether we'll have one right from the start of the season, that I don't know. I'm hoping that. But I know somewhere along the journey we will hit stride, and we will have a good team this year.
Dutch, are you ready to announce a starting lineup today?
Not yet. I still got to see who's practicing. So we've got guys that are in and out of practice, whether illness or aches and pains from the preseason that we've put in with all the pounding. And so I'll get over there and get the injury report. And that's not trying to put off the question. It's like I don't know until I get there as to see who's capable of practicing. Because if you can't practice, you can't start. So I want to see who's on that practice floor today.
How long until we might see McComas back on the court playing? Do you have any idea yet?
Well, hopefully, I mean, November 6th has kind of been the target for final clearance when then he can start practicing with contact. So he's out there doing 5-on-0. He's running, he's shooting. You know, he's hit all his marks as far as rehab. And so if he's practicing on November 6th, I told him today, maybe we'll throw you in there Sunday. You know, so who knows? I don't know if that's realistic. But I know he's ready to go mentally. He wants to be out there. So we'll start easing him back into full contact practice and see what the timeline is then.
The last time you guys played a real game was, don't mean to bring it up, but the North Carolina game, and it wasn't very close. How much do you think that motivated the players through the offseason?
I mean, it motivated us, you know, and it was a perfect storm game for them and us, you know, with the travel. The very next morning, we didn't even get a practice, and we got there, and we did a walkthrough in the ballroom, and then we went out and played a game. And you guys have been around long enough. We're very prep-oriented. We're detail-conscious. And to have a short prep against a very good team, it was a perfect storm. We didn't play well. We weren't totally prepared, and they rolled over us. And so we use that as a motivating factor, not only as coaches, but players to move into the next season.
Dutch, when will you make decisions on whether or not to redshirt guys on the team, and particularly the two true freshmen?
Yeah, the freshmen obviously have a little bit of a window where they can play a couple games and we can watch them. But, yeah, we're still looking to see what's in the best interest of not only the team but of the kids. And so we've had some of those conversations, and they'll become more evident as we move on. But a lot will have to do with, you know, who's injured, who's not injured, how quick McComas can get back as to what we do with some of these guys this year.
Is there a deadline that you have? Is there a deadline to name?
I think there's a certain percentage of the season, 10% of the season, something like that, whatever it is. We have that target as far as games go with the freshmen. And then anybody else that plays right away would probably be committed to playing. So we're having conversation as we go.
What's a determining factor for you on that? Is if you see somebody who can maybe help you this year, but they're not going to get a whole lot of minutes, would you rather save those minutes when you know they're going to be a year better? How do you weigh that when you're going to do a red shirt or not?
That's a balancing act. If we thought we'd be at great health all season, then we'd consider it. But, you know, Magoon's timeline for getting back is still up in the air. You know, if we lose somebody like we did Reese a year ago, lost a whole season, you know, and sometimes those dynamics change. As much as we want to have that answer now, we'll see how we perform and how injuries treat us as the season goes on. Just because a guy may start in a redshirt doesn't mean he'll be the whole season there, depending on what happens on an injury front. So that's yet to be determined.
So San Diego State connections to Long Beach State playing tomorrow night. Your thoughts about teaming up against them?
Yeah, bringing Chris Acker back, longtime assistant here. And I watched them on tape, and they look like an Aztec team. They guard at a high level. They're fundamentally sound. But he's piecing a lot of new players together. You know, he lost an entire roster. And I watched them against LMU. I watched that exhibition game where they won by 24, I think, and they look really good for that many new pieces that early in the year. So I think he'll have a good season. I hope it doesn't start tomorrow in Viejas.
You mentioned Reese. What does having him back in the lineup do for the entirety of the club?
Yeah, I mean, you saw in the 2 exhibition games the numbers he puts up. So he's a dynamic scorer, and he's a veteran player, and he's everything you want in college basketball. You want to be older, you want to be experienced, and he provides both of that. So hopefully Reese will stay in good health and have the kind of year we all know he's capable of.
In the preseason, we saw one game with Farrow and one game with Miles at the 5. Do you have a plan for tomorrow of who's going to get more of that way?
Yeah, this might be a rotation thing all season, as one starts for a couple games, and the other one, if he plays well, will get that spot. They both have to be mentally tough enough to play either role, whether they're starting or coming off the bench. And I think both of them have a maturity about them where they'll be able to handle that.
You envision them on the floor at the same time, go to a bigger lineup?
Yeah, we played them together in the past. Heidi's proven he can play a power forward if he has to. So depending on injuries and rotations, we'll play them both together at times. I don't think we'll start them both, not with Jeremiah Odom healthy and Tay Simmons playing well and Magoon coming back. I think that's not something we'll look at a lot, but yeah, there'll be times they'll play together.
You talk about the depth of this team and how many good players you have. You have 2 starting 5s. How much do you look at the way that the skill sets interact in the way that you want to maybe put different combinations on the floor, or is everybody just a Swiss Army knife? Everybody can kind of get together and play with each other?
No, we're trying to figure out what combinations are playing best together. And that may take some game time, too, to see, which group is better together than the other group. And so that'll be a work in progress. We'll watch and we'll keep data and we'll look at the metrics of what lineups are most productive together, and we'll have something to work with as the season goes on.
How long do you think it might take to set somewhat of a regular rotation? Is it, when you factor in Magoon, you factor what you just said, is it going to be like weeks? It could be a month or 2?
It could be a while. I mean, it's more to do with mentality than it is physical ability. Who can mentally handle what? And who do I have to encourage, and who do I have to give a kick in the butt to get them going when it's not perfect? And, so that's what coaching's for. So I have a great staff around me. I have guys that want to be good, that are about the right things, and I have to help put them in the positions to be most successful, not only for themselves, but more importantly for the team.
What's it like having, I know you used the challenge against UCLA, but what's that now like, having to implement, or the possibility of using challenges? How do you determine when's the right time to do it?
As far as using...
The coaching challenge, where you can challenge...
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't want to probably challenge until late in the game, when it has a significant impact on the outcome. And it's like anything else, it's like the NFL. How quick can I get a replay where it's definitive? And, that has to do a lot more with technology in the building and how many angles we have on stuff based on whether it's televised and how many cameras they're using, and where I can make an insightful decision. Because, I mean, we all watch those ones that are deflected out of bounds at the end of the game. They got to look and see if a guy got a fingernail on it where it changed the rotation slightly. So, my eyesight's going anyway. So I'll have to rely on some of the technology to help me with a challenge or two, hopefully.
Dutch, when it comes to scheduling non-conference games, how much of it is connections to the team, like ACK being Long Beach State? The Toreros are going to have USC, coached by Eric Musselman, who's a Torero alum. How often is it really who you know as opposed to what that team brings?
It's a little bit of all of that. Some guys are willing to play it to do a favor because you have a relationship with them. Some of them guys are knowing you too well and never want to play you. And so sometimes guys don't like playing their former assistants. But, obviously we played Justin Hudson for all those years because we had to. They were in the conference, and Acker has done a good job, and he's building a good program, and it works out where it's good for both of us, so we're going to play the game. Obviously, the in-town games are always more of a challenge, to go to USD or UCSD. Obviously, UCSD, 2 years ago, we had to tip one in by Ledee at the buzzer to win the game. And, we're playing a Big West team. The last 2 times we played Irvine in here, Micah Parrish hit buzzer beaters to beat them. So we know the Big West is a challenge, and especially with a coach like Acker who's going to know our system, know what we're doing. But, we don't duck from a lot of challenges in this program.